Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chicago PD boss threatens breaking point for Burzek after crossover. Adam Burzek, Patrick John Pfluger, was one of the most important characters in the One Chicago crossover. The veteran officer was trapped underground and forced to put fears for his own life to the side so he could aid civilians and catch a potential suspect. He did all that and made it home to Kim Burgess, Marina Squirciati, for dinner. It was a wonderful capper to an otherwise stressful three-part event. Unfortunately, the stress is not going to stop with regard to Burzek and Burgess. The couple are in for a lot more professional struggles in Season 12 of Chicago PD, which will undoubtedly impact their personal lives. PD showrunner Gwen Sigan told Hello! Magazine there was a lot on Burzek's shoulders during the crossover, but that the biggest struggles will be saved for later in the year. What you'll see in the rest of our season is that they reach a breaking point, Sigan revealed. To see the juxtaposition of their joy and progression and the harsher realities of life, it does eventually have to be dealt with, and that piece of it will definitely be continuing for us. This lines up with what Sigan told One Chicago Center in terms of post-crossover storylines. There's a few episodes coming up where they're both still dealing with a lot and just common stressors of life, family issues and parenting, and Burgess promotion, Sigan noted. They have to address it. The struggle to juggle these various elements will certainly be compounded by the fact that the duo plan to get married before the end of Season 12. Between Burgess' promotion, Burzek's involvement in an upcoming case, and the potentially threatening presence of Chief Deputy Reed, Sean Hatosy, it's not going to be easy to say, pick out flower arrangements. How do you enjoy all of the things that are coming up? Sigan rhetorically asked. And make sure that this part of your life is also about the joy of being engaged and getting to plan a wedding and allow it to be both things at once. Life goes fast, and the showrunner claimed that Burzek and Burgess will get to a point where they realize they need to appreciate this particular period. There's obviously so much going on with them, she noted, but also can we make it a priority to try to enjoy this period that's going to be, quickly gone. Once they get married. We can only hope the couple reach their breaking point sooner rather than later, so that we can see them enjoy their wedding. The air inside the 21st District was thick with tension. The latest multi-department crossover had left intelligence reeling. It had been a grueling operation. Undercover work gone sideways, shots fired, and too many close calls. But for Kim Burgess and Adam Burzek, the fallout wasn't just professional, it was personal. Shut the door, Sergeant Hank Voigt said, his voice gruff as he gestured for the two officers to step inside his office. His piercing gaze locked onto them, his usual controlled demeanor underlined with something heavier. Frustration, concern, maybe even disappointment. Burgess and Burzek exchanged a quick glance before complying. They'd been through this before. Post-mission debriefings, Voigt's warnings, the reminders of how personal feelings couldn't interfere with the job. But this felt different. Voigt leaned forward, his hands folded on the desk. What the hell was that out there? He demanded. You two went off-book, ignored orders, and nearly got yourselves killed. Burgess opened her mouth to respond, but Burzek cut in first. Sarge, we had to. No, Voigt interrupted, his voice sharp. You didn't have to, you chose to. And that choice damn near cost the entire case. You put the team at risk. Burgess inhaled deeply, trying to steady herself. We saw an opportunity, she said. We had intel that we couldn't ignore. And that intel, Voigt shot back, was unconfirmed. That's the problem. You're not just making decisions for yourselves. You're making them for the unit, for this department. Burzek bristled. We got the perp, didn't we? Voigt's eyes darkened. At what cost? Silence stretched between them, the weight of the confrontation settling heavily on their shoulders. Burgess glanced at Burzek, seeing the same conflict she felt. They were always willing to put themselves on the line, but Voigt wasn't wrong. Their personal connection made them reckless sometimes. They acted on instinct, on emotion, and that was a dangerous line to toe. I get it, Voigt finally said, his voice softer but no less intense. I know what it's like to want to protect someone, to have their back no matter what. But this is getting out of control. He exhaled sharply, then fixed them with a pointed stare. You're at a breaking point. Both of you. And if you don't get it together, I'll do it for you. Burgess stiffened. What does that mean? It means, Voight said, leaning back in his chair, that I won't let this unit suffer because you two can't separate personal from professional, so either you figure it out or one of you is getting reassigned. The words hit like a gut punch. Burzek's jaw tensed. You wouldn't. I would, Voight countered without hesitation, and don't think I won't. I need my team at their best. If you two can't work together without risking lives, then you won't work together at all. Burgess felt a cold weight settle in her chest. The idea of being pulled from intelligence, of being separated from the unit, and from Burzek, was unthinkable. They had been through too much, fought too hard. But Voight wasn't bluffing. He never bluffed. Burzek exhaled sharply, shaking his head. This isn't fair. What's not fair, Voight countered, is me watching two of my best cops self-destruct because they won't acknowledge what's happening. You think this is just about today? It's not. This has been building, and you know it. Burgess swallowed hard. He was right. It had been building, since she was shot, since she almost died, since they'd started this on-again, off-again dance of what they meant to each other. Every case, every risk, had only deepened the cracks in their foundation. They worked together seamlessly, but the emotions, the unspoken fears, the desperate need to protect one another, were becoming liabilities. Voight let out a slow breath. Look, I don't want to split up my team. But I won't let you crash and burn either. He folded his hands again, his voice quieter now. So figure it out. Fast. He gestured toward the door, signaling the conversation was over. Burgess and Burzek exchanged another glance, this one filled with unspoken words and uncertainty. Then, without another argument, they stepped out of Voight's office and into the dimly lit bullpen. The precinct hummed around them. Officers moving between desks, phones ringing, cases still unfolding. But for them, everything felt frozen. What do we do? Burgess asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Burzek ran a hand through his hair, exhaling. We figure it out. Like we always do. But even as he said it, Burgess could see the uncertainty in his eyes. Because this time they weren't just up against a case or a suspect. This time they were up against themselves. The latest Chicago PD crossover event has left the intelligence unit shaken, and for fan-favorite duo Adam Burzek and Kim Burgess, affectionately known as Burzek, it may be the final straw. As the dust settles from a harrowing case that spilled over from Chicago Fire and Chicago Med, Sergeant Hank Voight has issued a dire warning. Burzek is at their breaking point. The episode in question saw Burzek and Burgess pushed to their limits when a high-stakes undercover operation collided with a medical crisis and a raging inferno. Burzek, still recovering emotionally from his near-death experience, was forced back into deep cover with little time to prepare, while Burgess, still grappling with PTSD from her own kidnapping, had to work against the clock to rescue a trafficked child caught in the crossfire. By the time the case was closed, their dynamic was more fractured than ever. It wasn't just the emotional toll. There were logistical and ethical fractures in their partnership. Burzek, ever the protector, had gone rogue in a desperate attempt to shield Burgess, while Burgess, feeling suffocated by his choices, lashed out. The tension simmering between them for seasons finally boiled over. Voight, never one to mince words, delivered his most ominous warning yet. Whatever you two think you have, whatever you think you're holding together, it's falling apart. You're at your breaking point, and if you don't fix it, one of you is going to shatter. For Burzek fans, this warning is as heartbreaking as it is inevitable. The duo has endured years of ups and downs, romantic entanglements, near-fatal encounters, and the complex realities of co-parenting Michaela, but this latest crisis has pushed them further than ever before.